This video I'm going to talk about sort of the basics of Punnett squares. And so in the other videos we discussed how every individual has a genotype, and a genotype is made of two alleles. Every individual has two versions of every gene, again, because we have pairs of chromosomes, homologous pairs. So say this is my genotype. Let me do this in a different color. Say this is me, right? This is my genotype for some trait, right? And I know that I have two alleles, and I got maybe, let's say, one from my mom and one from my dad. Okay. So let's assume then I got one from my mom. I know that she has at least a capital A. And I got this other one from my dad. And I know he has a lowercase a. But if I have two alleles, and everybody has two alleles, that means my parents have two alleles. So that means my mom also has some other allele, and my dad also has some other allele. If everyone has two alleles, but I get one from each, that must mean that I only get one from each of my parents, so at some point their two had to split at some point, and some either random decision had to be made about which ones I happen to get. And so this is something that Mendel discussed in the second law of his that we're going to discuss is the law of segregation. When I think of segregation, I think of being separating, things like that. And so the law of segregation states that when that two alleles for a trait that somebody has separate when a gamete is formed. And remember, a gamete is going to be a sperm or egg cell. And we know we make these during meiosis. All right? And so that's what the law of segregation says. The two alleles for a parent separate when creating the gamete. Therefore, every gamete has only one copy of an allele, such that when two gametes then come together and fuse to form a new child, they now have two, one from each parent. And again, Mendel didn't know this, but we know that this happens when homologous pairs separate during meiosis, right? We go from 2N to N during meiosis, diploid to haploid, and this haploid allows us to get only one version of everything from our parents.